Welcome back to O'Rourke Coach Trimmers. Today you join me with an incredible project, a very significant car that we are incredibly proud to have been a part of. This is the Auto Union T52. Rourke and I thought it'd be quite a nice idea to sit down and talk you through this project. The car is an Auto Union T52. It was a car that was being drawn through the early 1930s by Auto Union, but it never made it into production. Various things happened and the car never came to fruition. Audi have now decided that they'd like to manufacture this car using the information and drawings that they have of it in their archives. The project was given to Crosswaite and Gardner to undertake, who then approached us to be involved with the interior from the design through to the build and then the trimming of it. We have all manner of incredible projects here at O'Rourke's, but occasionally a project like this comes along and it really stops us in our tracks, and it really is a significant piece of automotive history. I'm going to let Rourke talk through how we approached using the correct materials and techniques to give this car a nice authentic look, feel and finish.
Firstly, it's very important when you're trimming a car such as this to use the correct materials that would have been used in the day, and techniques as well. It'd be really wrong to make it easy for us by using foams that just cut nicely, such as neoprenes, modern leathers and polyester. So we've gone about it with the customer, looked at cars before and after, what were around in that era, and then we've honed it down on the materials that you see in the car.
Yeah, so when the car arrived here, a couple of members of the Auto Union team at Audi came over and we spent a day together and we looked at various different samples, images. We even had a FaceTime call with a couple of the historians back at the museum who went round to other cars they've got, which were maybe more road-based cars, as ultimately that's what this car was going to be. It was going to be a race car for the road. If you look at it from an automotive history point of view, had it come about, it may well have been the first supercar. So we looked through these various different cars and images that Audi have in their archive, and we settled on the materials that you see in the car. Rourke has touched lightly on some of the techniques he used. He mentioned about the seats being done in horsehair and cotton wadding rather than foam. And if there's any other sort of techniques and construction methods that you used in there, it'd be a good time to highlight it.
Yeah, there's plenty, because everyone who watches our channel knows we get involved in modern stuff and we can do old. So we're one of the rare companies that can go through all the eras of traditions. Yeah. And this Auto Union really pulled us up on some of the old skills. You know, this interior is drawn up, never made. And going back to 1930s interiors, or how this could have been, Germany were using a lot of fat edges, rolled edges, where they stitch a piped line and then fold it around, so you've got a nice bit of overhang. I want to see all of that in this car. And we're going to be using, as I said, horsehair and wadding, not traditional methods we would use nowadays, where we would stitch straight on foams. We'll be tucking and rolling all this and getting a nice fat feel to the seats. So they're plump, comfy to sit in, and they're going to have a nice piece of life to them. So there'll be wrinkles in the right places, so they look like they're being old, and you'll see a nice warm interior feel to the car. It's going to be wonderful.
So now we're going to let you watch the team downstairs go through the interior, building and trimming it, and then we'll catch up in a bit to talk through some of the other details. So you've seen the team making a start on the project, but in reality the project started a long time before we even saw the car here at O'Rourke's. I worked closely with the team, firstly at Crossweight and Gardner, and secondly with Timo and the team at Auto Union, to make sure that we selected the most appropriate materials for the project, to make sure that most of the processes that were being used were as close to what they would have done in the 30s as we could. So we looked at a range of materials, and ultimately when it came to the leather selection, we made sure that we went with a surface dyed leather, which would have been, you know, the leather that would have been available at the time. And we picked a grey colour because that was kind of in keeping with Audi's theme for the car. They also wanted to incorporate some cloth, being a more road-based car. We looked, and they looked at other Auto Union road cars from the time, and cloth seats were a commonplace in a lot of their cars. So again, we looked at a number of materials, and we ended up with this beautiful cotton fabric with a gentle pinstripe through it that just really worked and gave a nice balance of materials between the leather and the cloth. And then the last two materials in the car, we had the carpet. We went with a traditional sort of German box weave carpet, again looking at other cars that Auto Union were producing at the time. This was a fairly common sight. And then to finish things off, we had a 100% wool headlining material. You know, again, 1930s, it was very commonplace to see wool cloths in the headlining of the cars, and there was plenty of examples in the Audi Museum of similar era Auto Union cars that featured this type of material. Onto the techniques, Rourke's going to talk further about some of the things that we went through to make sure we did this in the most authentic way possible. We could have trimmed this in a slightly different manner and made sure that everything was absolutely perfect, but that isn't how the car would have been with the hand techniques that would have been used at the time. There would have been some evidence of working, etc. throughout the cabin. We feel we've achieved this through the project, and everyone involved was really happy with the results. I'm now going to let you carry on watching the team work on the car, and then you'll join Rourke in a bit just to see some of the interesting bits and pieces he found through working on the car.
You join me in the workshop. I'm going to show you some of the skills and traditional techniques we used while manufacturing this fantastic interior. Our brief was to make an interior that was authentic to the 1930s period, and we really feel that we've done this to the full. On the front quarters, the cabin for a space with 3 people in it was very tight, so we've built a beautiful Art Deco line above the, well, just behind the wheel arch, so we could scallop the aluminium really close to the outside skin, giving you only a few more inches of footroom, but it was a few more inches that you really needed. When manufacturing door panels for a car such as this, the door panels will not be symmetrical. Nothing is on that car. And firstly, we take a beautiful pattern. This gets peeled off, all our data is drawn on the pattern, laid onto aluminium, and then we cut it all out by hand. We folded the edges of the door, pre-drilled our holes. It fitted exactly, missed everything. Then we added the door rubbers, made sure it was all beautiful, and it was. Then it was trimmed with cloth, stitched onto the wadding, not foam, because that wouldn't have been period correct. And there's not many places on that car to put your goodies, so we added a lovely functional mat pocket, as would have been seen back in those days. Another tricky part of the job I'd like to touch base on is the seats. They've got very straight pinstripe stitches in a very fussy material, which has got like a 4-way stretch to it. So it was difficult to stitch those flutes visibly straight. So what we ended up doing was top stitching over the material on the calico, which had no move in the back of it, and then folding material over, then top stitching down our old line, and then hand stuffing the flutes with a cotton wadding, and then knocking them all down flat. Very time consuming, but the overall effect of that kind of slightly used look was wonderful. Please enjoy the last few stages of this interior coming together, and I'll join you again shortly. I'm sure you've enjoyed watching that career highlight of a video. As you've seen from our previous videos, it's out of the ordinary, and we've truly enjoyed creating the interior and manufacturing it to a really great standard.
Yeah, really hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As Rourke mentioned, it's a real highlight for the team here at O'Rourke to have been involved in this great project. The car's going to be on display in a number of places over the coming months and years, so hopefully you get to see it out in the wild somewhere. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, or if you've got any questions, please give it a like, think about subscribing, and drop any comments or questions below.